Season's kicking off, coming around the corner here. Final preseason games are in
Hey.
play. So, Isaiah, I'll let you kind of run the show, run the outline here.
Yeah. Okay. So, my goodness. Let me think. When does the season start tonight?
Uh,
Sorry, I don't know why I'm pretty sure
right
the
now, so I'd be surprised.
yeah, no, it starts tonight.
Yeah, tonight is the regular season.
Yep.
So tonight is the regular season of the NBA beginning. The Warriors are playing the Nets currently, and the Clippers play the Lakers at 10. So some marquee matchups. Obviously not right now. The Warriors are getting exploded by 30 points. But yes, let's so the NBA season is starting right before Christmas. I think they're playing 72 games, so they're taking out 10 games. And they're looking for a similar start time as normal for the playoffs. The one different thing this year is that the 9 and the 10 seeds get to do a play-in tournament with the 7 and 8 seeds in conferences, which is really confusing. But basically, the top 10 teams in each conference get a shot at the playoffs. It's going to be harder for the 9 and 10 seeds to get in to those. Like they have to. I'm not sure the format of it, but anyway, yeah, the season's starting off. There's a lot of returning stars. Obviously, tonight you have two of them with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. You have a lot of storylines coming in. Can the Lakers repeat? Will the retooled Bucks actually be able to build around Giannis and like be a championship contending team? What about all these rookies that a bunch of teams drafted? Like there's so many storylines. It seems like in this short season, it's going to be a really good season. So yeah, what are some of those, I guess to start off, what are some of those storylines that you guys are kind of thinking of? Is there any like team you're watching this year or player you're watching just to see how it runs out? I'd say for sure mine's the Clippers. It came out that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George made like a bunch of absolutely ridiculous demands in their contracts. Like about we only practice when I say we practice. Like I don't have to come to practice. Like all these things about traveling and like the team players can't have their own personal security except for Kawhi and Paul George. Like all these crazy things that just didn't build team chemistry, which is understandable as why they flopped in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if Paul George can actually take a step and look like an All-NBA player, and if they can actually compete for a championship. I'm not trusting them as much as I did last year. I thought they were the only team that could challenge the Lakers, but I guess that's my biggest storyline that I'm looking forward to is if the Clippers actually want to be competitive or if Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are just happy they're getting paid.
Sure. Team I'm watching, I want to watch the Heat throughout the full year. I mean, they just got so hot at the end of the year. Then they were kind of beat up in the finals. They still were able to take 2 games in the finals. I would like to see if Jimmy Butler went on such a stretch at the end of the end or in the bubble basically. I'd like to see if that can kind of carry over into this next year to see if he can play at that level. A team that I would just flat out trust to be very good this year would actually be that Heat team, just because I think they're the best coach team in the league, the best organization overall in the league. Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on them. A lot of people think they might be not quite up to that level, where they can challenge the Lakers again. Because if you look at them on paper, they're maybe not quite there. But they're going to be interesting to watch this year for sure.
Yeah. So my team is probably the Pelicans to watch, just because I love the young talent on that team. And anytime you can get a bunch of young guys together and I think they're all talented. Isaiah, I mean, I like the Clippers because obviously the two former Pistons with Kennard and Reggie Jackson as depth pieces. But like the Pelicans with like Zion and JJ Redick's the veteran that can shoot the threes, and I always liked him even when he was at Duke. Even though I hate Duke, I always like Redick. And then Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Ingram, And then I think the toughest guy in the league, Steven Adams. You put that team together, and to me, that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. No, I think I really hope the Pelicans, like, all their young pieces pan out, because that's going to be a fun if they stick with the organization and if no one has any or big injuries, it looks like they should be, along with the Mavericks, the most fun team to watch over the next 5 years.
The Mavs are gonna be cool, man.
Yeah. Let's get into we did some award predictions, so we'll get into it by talking about the Mavericks. I have Luka as my MVP.
You have Luka as your MVP.
It just seems like the storyline fits. And the reason I say that, even though it shouldn't be important, there were like multiple NBA people who have votes in the MVP race that said they are narrative-based voters.
Yep.
Like they look at like the top 3 finalists and just say like, what's the biggest story? Like there were a couple people, someone who like ESPN and appears on The Jump, who said, I'm voting for LeBron because I'm a narrative-based voter. It doesn't matter like if Giannis is the better player, I'm voting for LeBron. So I think Luka's storyline, more than most other storylines, just really lines up with being an MVP caliber. His play is good enough. Yeah. He puts up stats like mad. He's only just putting up better and better stats. He has a team around him that boosts his abilities to do what he wants. I just think he's going to explode this year and go from all NBA to MVP. My honorable mention though is Steph Curry. If Steph Curry really wanted to, I think he could drop 35 to 40 points a game. But
especially without Clay now, he has to for any kind of semblance of success.
For sure. So who do you guys have as your MVP favorites this year?
So I actually did put Luka down, but I think Giannis is still probably going to be. I think he's going to still get it this year, and a lot of people still want to put LeBron down, but there's a lot of reports this year that LeBron, especially with like no fans 100%, like he already almost didn't care at all, even if there were fans that wanted to show up to the games to watch LeBron play. Now that like fans aren't there, I could see LeBron taking like half the games off this season. Just because he also has complained and said, wow, I feel like I've had no time like to recover. And at his age, like he needs that.
My thing with LeBron, he talks such a big game half the time. Oh, I'm not going to play. He's going to play, which is why I think he's going to win the MVP. Okay, he's going to play. He's going to say something. He's going to say dumb stuff about China or something stupid, right? But he's still going to play. So while he might be one of my least favorite basketball players on the earth, I think he's probably got to be up there with the favorites, probably along with Giannis, Luka, Steph. I mean, yeah, I could see it.
Dude, I see Jokic as a sleeper.
Jokic?
Oh, Jokic. I said Jokic. Wow.
You're good.
Jokic.
Yeah. I just think
I don't think he's
I think last year was LeBron's last chance to win an MVP. I don't know. Maybe if he really and that's the thing about LeBron.
LeBron could win an MVP if he wanted.
He could go out and average a triple double if he really wanted to. But I feel like last year was his last year that he was like, okay, I'm going to try to win the MVP this year. And now at 38 years old, I think he's just going to be like, or not at 38, 36.
Yeah, he's like 36.
year 18.
That's Aaron Rodgers' age.
Yeah.
I just think I think he's just going to be like, all right, I'm just going to get these rings. I'm going to load manage. I'm going to cool down. I'm going to just get this ring.
I don't know. I just feel like, as much of a talker about, sitting down and not playing he is, I think, in the heat of the moment, I think he's just going to play. I think the way I could see him not though is one, he's got such a good team. I mean, you've got AD, they could probably win a lot of games without him. So it's not like, it's not like they need him every single game to win. So that I could see that happening, but I still got to put him up there as a favorite. Do you guys think KD has a chance? I know we can talk about comebacks, but do you think he's got a chance?
I don't even have him in my top 10 for MVP candidates.
I would put him in the top 10.
I
Yeah,
like
I'll
that.
put him in the top 10 just because of his potential.
Yeah, I'd like probably see him play like 5-6 games.
But I have other guys that you didn't mention, like Jason Tatum and Lillard and Kawhi, and
Yeah.
well, I guess you could probably right in that end, but I think that's because I put Jokic in there as a
Yeah.
He's a great player. Jokic is a great player, but I just think, I mean, KD, like that guy, if he's healthy and he should be on, I think they're going to be pretty good this year. Like I really do.
Yeah.
Like he could put up some bananas numbers. I mean, that dude is a bucket. Like that guy, I mean, some nuts numbers this year. I could see it if he's healthy, if things are going right in that, with the organization and everything else. I mean, I think he could be right there.
Yeah. I think part of the determining factor with KD too is if he is going to do any sort of load management.
Yeah.
And people use now he's coming off an injury. He really, there's going to be like tonight, there's going to be a lot of games where he doesn't have to play more than 30 minutes. Like they are a good team and they have a lot of depth. Like they still have Spencer Dinwiddie. DeAndre Jordan is serviceable when he wants to be. They got Joe Harris still. They have Karis LeVert who can put up 20 points if he wants to. So and Landry Shamet. I forgot they got Landry Shamet. So if KD wants to play 25 minutes, like sit on the bench for half the game, not be the go-to player, he can do that if he's feeling bad. And like that, MVP voters take that into consideration. But again, if he wants to, and if he's 100%, we haven't seen 100% KD as the odds-on number one player on his team in a few years. Like it was nights with Steph Curry and him, whether one wanted to be the number one player or the other one did. With Kyrie Irving, if they want to be championship contenders, Kyrie Irving cannot be your best player. Sorry, like I think he's a great point guard, but he can't.
He's always been just a number 2 to me, though.
Yeah,
he's always just giving that.
And he can, like, I mean, I definitely think like that Cleveland series, he should have won Finals MVP over LeBron. Like I thought he had a better overall series.
Any given night, he can be the best guy on the floor.
Yeah, so he can drop 40, he can drop 50, but KD can be is the best player on the team every single night. He doesn't have not Steph Curry.
KD there had arguments for best player on the planet. So
yeah, for sure. So he could. I think he's top 10. Is he top 5? It's just hard to tell off injury.
Yeah. I guess you're right. Seeing how much he plays is probably a key there.
Yeah.
So with that, who do you guys? Ben, we'll go to you first. Who do you have as a defensive player of the year in your mind?
So I think it's probably going to be Giannis. I don't want it to be Giannis, but I think it's probably going to be Giannis. I could see AD also getting some love.
I was going to say, if you're watching the Heat too this year, I would think Bam Adebayo has got to be in there for you.
Bam definitely has an opportunity. It's just like Isaiah was saying. I think if people see Giannis on that list, they're gonna pick Giannis. Like, unfortunately, like that's just kind of how it is. Bam and AD, I would say are probably better defenders. Giannis is just an absolute freak. Oh, I guess all those guys are freaks, but Giannis just is out there. He's guarding more positions a little bit more consistently. He's just out there a little bit more. And this shouldn't matter for Defensive Player of the Year at all, but like the fact that he's just such a polarizing part of his team, and he's the best player on his team too. I think that'll give him some love. So I think that's probably who's going to win.
I'm going to go with Rudy Gobert from Utah. Every single time I turn on the TV and watch him, like it seems like his hip movement is so entwined with whoever he's covering, and his arm length is.
Wasn't Rudy Gobert the first guy to ever have COVID on the planet?
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, he started COVID.
He started COVID.
He's the guy who started the pandemic.
Yeah.
Guy.
He doesn't know how to play defense against COVID, that's for sure.
No.
Rudy Coronavirus Gobert.
Yep.
That whole thing with him and Donovan Mitchell, I will never think that's not.
That's incredible. I love it. He's always a contender. Like he's always When he plays a full season, he's going to be in contention because really that's all he does. Like he takes alley-oops and short dump-off shots, and he defends like a mother. Like he might be like, I'd have to look at it, and I don't want to just spout off some nonsense, but like he might be like the best pure defensive player ever.
Mhm.
Like he just goes out and he defends. Like that's all he does. Obviously, there's a lot of guys in that category, but he's up there in that list. Like when you think of just defensive beast, it's him. My pick is actually Anthony Davis. I don't know. I think Anthony Davis could be an MVP caliber, but I don't think LeBron's going to let anybody else be better than him on his own team. Like if LeBron just wanted to back off for a little bit, like AD could average 20 and 15 every night. But I actually have as an honorable mention. So I picked an honorable mention for every single award. Just so if I'm wrong with my actual prediction, I can feel like I was right if I got it.
Let's just name 12 players. We've kind of hit some.
Honorable mention. The honorable mention.
Yeah. If I wanted to pick a guard player because I really want the guards to be more competitive in the defensive player of the year, because I think it's a guard heavy offensive league. So they should definitely be like understood as some of the best defenders. So I actually went with Marcus Smart of the Boston Celtics. I think he is the best guard defender in the league. I know Drew Holiday is also really good. I know there's a lot of good guard defenders, but Marcus Smart is like the definition of a pit bull. Like he can guard anybody that isn't a foot taller than him. He can guard them. He can guard 4 positions, and he can't guard the 5, but he can guard 4 positions, and he just has the hustle and he has the heart to just be on every single defensive play and every single defensive opportunity that he can have. So
I've got Embiid and Ben Simmons as sleepers if we want to put those.
Yeah, there you go. All right. The next award would be the most improved player. Usually this goes to like a second, maybe a third or fourth year guy.
Michael Porter Jr.
Michael, that's who I have. I have Michael Porter Jr. too. Why do you pick Michael Porter Jr.?
I just think he needed that year. So like he didn't, he got hurt that year in college, early. So at Missouri. So he just didn't have the whole season, right? And he wasn't able to play. So then finally he comes back, and just kind of gets eased into things. And I think towards the end of the year, this past year, he was able to really kind of to show his talent. When the chances we got to see him, and I just think I loved watching his game. I loved his game. The short stints we got to see him in college. I loved his game. The bit that we've seen him in the NBA, and I just think he has a chance to take off. Like I think he could have been. Did he get drafted second or third in the draft?
Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah.
He got drafted 14th.
14th. Okay. I know what it was. He was early on though. He was picked.
He was projected first until he got injured.
Yeah. So like, I think he's got that level of talent.
Sure.
So, I feel like he's probably due for a takeoff year. If he stays healthy. Obviously, that's always a question. But
I have him if Denver expands his role.
Yeah.
They gave him 32 minutes a night. He's going to win most improved because he just needs – I don't think his game's going to actually improve that much. I think it's just his opportunity is going to improve. Like I thought his game last year was incredible. He just didn't play a lot.
Yep.
They kept him out on some games entirely, even some like they had a couple like East Coast trips where they played 3 games and he would play like maybe one of them, especially earlier on in the season. So I think if they give him an expanded role, he's going to win the award. Who I actually picked, he's my honorable mention. I picked Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
That's my pick.
I think he's the odds on.
And I hate picking like the consensus person, but man, Shai turned it up last year, and I think like just being on that OKC team and having as much opportunity as he could ever want, he's gonna turn it up. And I say opportunity for both these guys. Like that's kind of the thing with the most improved player award. It's not necessarily like you don't always get a Pascal Siakam who just with basically the same amount of minutes just plays way better. Usually you get a Bam Adebayo who plays way better but also gets way more minutes. Like Bam, everyone was like, oh, every single statistical category, Bam is increasing. I'm like, yeah, and his minutes like triple. So duh.
Right.
So I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is actually going to be like the most. His minutes aren't going to go up like crazy, but he's just going to play way better. So Joel,
I did pick Gilgis, but I think my honorable mentions could be like Aitan from Phoenix, and then let's put Jaren Jackson in there too.
yeah,
Jaren Jackson.
yeah.
I
I mean,
want to leave De'Aaron Fox out. I think that's another name that kind of comes up.
yeah. No, Memphis definitely needs Jaren Jackson Jr. to take that next step. So
I watched De'Aaron Fox. I was at a Bucks Kings game. This is a few years ago. And De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield probably had every bit of the Kings points.
oh yeah,
Yet they lost by like 45.
yeah, I'm sure.
Because before even the first television timeout, they were down 26-0.
Yeah,
It was incredible.
dude. I remember before LeBron went to the Lakers, and like the Warriors were still great, but I think everyone kind of sensed KD was leaving.
Yeah.
Sacramento, everyone was like, they're going to be the best California team.
No,
It's like, oh, they're going to be so good, and then they just are.
so bad. They are
Like,
so
they're just
bad.
like they have all this talent, but
Did Hield go to Oklahoma? I feel like I remember watching.
yes, yeah,
in college.
he was pretty good, and he was
Yeah.
really good in college.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So next award would be one that we as Pistons fans might be a little more vested in and have hope of someone winning it. Rookie of the Year. I did not pick any of the Pistons rookies, but my guy is Obi Toppin.
Okay.
I just think, again, Rookie of the Year, like you need opportunity, like you need to be able to play a lot of minutes, and the Knicks suck, and they're really bad. And why not just play Obi Toppin 40 minutes a game? Just get him to, obviously not 40, but I think on their roster right now, he's actually behind, he's behind Julius Randle on their roster, which I hope doesn't last because Julius Randle's a bum. So I think Obi Toppin,
And
sports writers just love to talk about New York, and they love the Knicks to be good, and they want to do something with the Knicks, and the Knicks are going to be terrible. But Obi Toppin, I think he might win Rookie of the Year.
I'm gonna go with LaMelo Ball.
Same.
Just,
There it is.
I mean, someone
He looks good. This
looks really good. He looks very good in the
He's really
preseason.
good.
Obviously, he's got the flair, right? Obviously, he's gonna be in the headlines. And I think if he just puts together a solid rookie year, I think he's gonna get most of the votes. So
Yeah.
even though I like Obi Toppin a lot, I like a lot of this rookie class. I think LaMelo Ball is he's going to have a chance to play a good amount too, and he's going to have a chance to show out. So I really do think he's going to have a good rookie year, and he'll go through his struggles like all rookies, but I think he's going to put it together. So
yeah, I think my honorable, obviously talk about Pistons. I'd probably put Killian Hayes like right around 6, similar to where he was drafted. And like when it comes down to like the finals of like the voting I think Killian Hayes could finish like 6th or something in the voting.
I think, and this sucks, and this isn't anything against Killian Hayes because I think he's going to be a good player. I just think he's going to have a really tough year. That's what I think. I just think he's going to struggle. And this is based off of there's not a whole lot there right now around him. If he was surrounded with just studs, like I think he would have a good chance, but he's
going to be surrounded with opportunity because he's not around studs.
He's going to play, but the fact that there is and I expected this. There's such a stark difference though when between right now when he's on the court versus when like Derrick Rose is on the court.
Yeah.
Like obviously I hope that would be the case. Otherwise that's an indictment on Derrick Rose. But it's just it's a little bit hard to watch Killian Hayes. It has been in the preseason versus just put Derrick Rose in. He actually knows what he's doing. So I just think he's going to have a rough year. That's not to say he's, not going to figure it out by the end of the year, but I think he's going to struggle a bit.
They want to keep D Rose as the sixth man, so that's kind of how they're going to rotate that. But no, my honorable rookie is going to be Tyrese Halliburton from the Kings.
Okay.
I know he's not popular. I looked at the odds. He's like pretty far down, but I liked him when he was drafted.
There were a lot of draft analysts who were really high on Halliburton. Like he got picked, but like by the 4th overall pick, a lot of people had him as like their best overall.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I had LaMelo Ball as like, who's probably gonna win it? Like, he just like his team's not bad enough for him to be in the bottom of the league. So like he's not gonna be on this like 10-win team.
Well, they're good enough to where they'll play important games.
Yeah,
he's gonna mount into the year. Probably out of it. Eventually, but
I've got to think James Wiseman's going to play for the Golden State Warriors too a lot this year.
I thought Wiseman was the best prospect in the draft, honestly. I like him a lot, and shout out Anthony Edwards. Like, oh yeah, it's gonna stink. Like he's just got to share points with the best offensive center in the league and D'Angelo Russell. So I think he's really talented. I think he could win this award. I just don't know if there's only one ball, as they say. So
I'd put Obi even ahead of him. I know you had Obi topping pretty high, but like I put Obi 3rd or 4th probably on my list, but I like Obi. I think he's going to have a good rookie year.
Yeah, I just don't think anyone else on the Knicks does anything at all. So, okay. 2 actual awards left, but we picked a comeback player of the year. But first we'll do sixth man of the year. I have Devontae Graham of the Charlotte Hornets. I could see him getting moved up maybe to the starting lineup. It depends what they do with LaMelo and with Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward, and like they kind of had a log jam at those wings. So if Devontae Graham stays as a 6th man, I thought he had a great year last year. I thought he was one of the top 5 for most improved last year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I just didn't want to pick Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams. So I thought
Lou Williams is the top odds pick right now, but
so I want to go with Devontae Graham. I think he's really good. Again, I think they're going to be in some, like he might stay on the bench, but he's going to play valuable minutes. So I definitely think he'll have opportunity to put up some points. He's a great shot. The Hornets are definitely high on him. Like when they did their jersey release, he was their model, which I know it's just a photo shoot, but you usually want to put one of your most marketable players, and Charlotte doesn't have a ton of marketable players, but they didn't pick Terry Rozier, who's getting the most money from them. So I think Devontae Graham, I think they're really high on him. They're going to use him a lot, but if he stays on the bench, he's still going to be playing 25 plus minutes, and I have him winning 6th man of the year.
I will. I'm going to take former Piston Spencer Dinwiddie. I like Spencer's game, and I think he's a good complementary piece to obviously a very talented team. So
yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna pick Lou Williams because I think he's gonna win it. But there are
I really do. I do. But
I mean, for the 4th time in a row, he's probably gonna, or not in a row, but 4th time overall, he's gonna win it. So, the role just is perfect for him. So, but there's a lot of intriguing options there. It also depends on how these, like you were alluding to, Isaiah, how these teams run their lineups out there. There's guys who are 6th men, but they might end up starting a lot, depending on what kind of shakes out.
Well, and that happened with Derrick Rose.
I wouldn't be, I can pick a homer pick here. I think Trey Burke is a great chance for a 6th man. I think that Mavs team, like that team's fun to watch. Like that, their offense is awesome, and I think Trey Burke fits exactly with what they want. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see, but I'd probably go with Lou Williams. So
No, I wanted to pick Derrick Rose for this, which,
I just don't think he's going to be on the team for that long.
but will he? Yeah, usually you don't stay a 6-man if you change teams.
Mhm.
So I want him to change teams.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Pistons in a second, but I want him to change teams. And towards the end of last year, he was starting a lot of games, and they weren't keeping him on the bench. And you have to be, you can only start so many games. And if they start him again this season, he's not going to be eligible. So if he stays in the Pistons all year and is actually in the 6-man, he's definitely a top 5 candidate based on his production last year. I just don't know if both of those things are going to happen. Okay, so last official award, Coach of the Year. I am going to go as I did this with our NFL predictions with being high on a team, and it bit me in the butt because that team was the Houston Texans. But I'm going to go with another Texas team that I'm high on this year. I picked Luka for MVP. I'm going to go with Rick Carlisle for Coach of the Year. I don't think the Mavs are going to have the most wins in their conference. I actually think I picked them to be, third place behind the Nuggets and the Lakers. But they're going to have the biggest jump, and they're just going to be what everyone is talking about, and narrative sells. And they're talented enough to win a ton of games, but they aren't too talented where people will still give the coach a lot of credit. Like with the Lakers, when the Lakers are top of the league, they're not going to win Coach of the Year because it's LeBron and AD. You should think that also with the Bucks because Mike Budenholzer showed in the playoffs that he's a bum. But the Mavericks have enough talent to be really good and not too much talent where they will discount his coaching. So I'm going to go with Rick Carlisle.
I'm gonna go with Steve Nash, and that is because I have the Nets in the championship this year, playing the Lakers. So I know we're getting a little out of ourselves, but I do want to make that clear as to why I believe Steve Nash, and also again narrative, like he's newly relocated team. So I think that people are going to still be eyeballing that. Obviously, Kevin Durant and Kyrie together. I think there's obviously some names, and I just think Steve Nash is going to have success in this new location. And so with narrative and the fact that I put them in the championship game, I'm going to go with Steve Nash.
I'm going to go with Mike Malone for the Nuggets. Just because I have the Nuggets, a pretty good team this year. And I think, it doesn't have the name recognition of Nash or a guy that's just widely renowned as an excellent coach like Spoelstra or anything like that. But or even Carlisle. Carlisle's been around a little bit. I just think Malone's going to put together a really good team this year, and I think people are going to recognize that. I think he's going to win.
Yeah. Shout out first game of the season to end. Steph Curry shot 2 of 10 from 3.
Yep. Well, I don't think they'll do that often.
No. All right. Like I alluded to, we have I asked you guys to pick an award that the NBA doesn't award, but they should. Comeback player of the year with so many people coming back from injury this year. I mean, just some names, Steph Curry, John Wall, Kevin Durant are like the big 3, but you got a ton of guys coming back from injury, coming back to full strength. I wish Klay Thompson was on that list, but sadly he's not. I have Steph Curry as my comeback player of the year. As I said, I think he'll be in the MVP conversation. But
not after tonight. No, I'm kidding.
Who you guys think?
I'm gonna go with Durant. Kind of for the reason we talked about before, just because I think this is the first time in a while, like you said, that he is the best player on his team, and there isn't really a question about it. I mean, I guess with Kyrie, but there really isn't a question about it. So if I think he's gonna put up some big points, and I really think they're gonna give it. I would say if he is in the running, though, again, I think they're probably gonna give it to KD if he's up there in the top 2 or 3. So, which I think he will be. So,
I'm gonna go with Andrew Wiggins. And it gets a second chance for first impression. We'll go with that.
Real quick though, just to solidify my Durant deal. So you said, Durant could play like 25 minutes, right? He played 25 minutes tonight and had 22 points.
Sure.
So that's what he does. He's a bucket, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was a 30-point blowout. So in actual games, he I would not be surprised if he averages 30.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins, though. Okay.
All right.
The name just rings so many good bells for me, and now he has a new opportunity. So let's make it shine.
Sure.
Okay.
Shout out John Wall. I feel bad for you for being traded on your comeback year. You were going to be ushered to Washington as a hero and a king, but Houston looks like a hot mess right now.
James Harden's fat.
John Wall, I feel like he's just going to come out there and be like, I'm going to get buckets. And that's what he's going to do. He might fight. He might, on the court, fight James Harden, but I think he's just going to want to get buckets.
James Harden can't catch him anymore, though. He's going to be huffing and puffing up and down the
Yeah, dude, James Harden, big boy. All right, so let's get into our finals and championship prediction. Let's start with the Eastern Finals. Joel, I know you alluded to one of your teams, but who would you have the Nets going against and losing to in your Eastern Finals? Sorry, losing to the.
Yeah, I'll probably have them like play the Celtics. I don't know. The Celtics have pieces to get there, and I don't trust the Bucks this year, man. I was looking at their roster, and obviously they have a one of the greatest players in the NBA, right? But I think the Celtics. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and then you already talked about it. Marcus Smart could have a really solid year.
Mm-hmm.
And Tristan Thompson's just a veteran presence too that they have on the bench. So I think there's just enough pieces there, and like I think the Bucks, they have like a couple really solid guys, and then to me, just guys that aren't going to be able to do enough to help get it done past that. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like a super educated response, but I'm going Brooklyn versus the Celtics.
Yeah, I actually have that as my Eastern Finals too. The Celtics have just a ton of pieces. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown just keep taking small steps to get better. The only other team I would throw in a mix with the two of them would be the Heat.
Always consider the Heat because they surprised us again this past year.
Yeah.
So it's hard to count them out again.
The reason I didn't pick the Heat, though, and this may be non-popular and not what people want to hear, but I do think Bam Adebayo regresses a little bit. I think similar to Pascal Siakam this year or last year, he just won it most improved. Everyone's going to think he's going to be an all-NBA player, and he's just going to kind of not go back to the way he was at all. But I just think he's going to not produce as well.
Come back down to earth a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. I still think he's a stud. I think he still is a defensive monster and a freak athlete, but I just think he just and maybe just like does the same thing as last year, but teams just figured him out more. So that's why I picked the Celtics over the Heat. But I really don't see it being any other of those three teams. You can throw in the Bucks, but they have to prove it to me before I pick them preseason. Ben, what about you? Who you got?
I'm going Heat and Nets.
Right.
I think I can see what you're saying about Bam as far as the Heat goes. But I think Tyler Hero is going to take another step this year.
Yeah.
I think he's really going to be he's going to be able to take over some games for them. And as long as, and then if Jimmy Butler can obviously build on that crazy end of the year and just, he had a great year regardless, but if he can continue to be the star for them, I think they're gonna get there. Now, sometimes I don't think it's gonna be. The East is more hotly contested than the West. I will say that, but I'm with both of you guys. I don't really trust the Bucks at all. So the Bucks can go out there and they can win 65 games, and I still probably wouldn't trust them until I saw them win a playoff series. And then as far as the Nets go, I just think they're going to be really tough to defend all year long. you've got 3 guys on that team who could go out there and give you 35 pretty much anytime. I mean, KD, Kyrie, and Karis LeVert could go out there and give you 25 to 30 easily. If they feature him, he's probably gonna not. He's not going to because he's 3rd or 4th wheel on this team now. But I mean, he's a stud. I mean, he's been awesome. So
out of all the Michigan players that have gone into the NBA in the past
Right.
years,
He's such a surprise because I feel like he wasn't.
Told me Karis LeVert was going to be the best one, I would not believe you for a second.
I don't know though. Karis LeVert, he ruined his ankle or whatever he did that his senior year of college, but he was throwing up triple doubles his senior year before he got hurt, and then everybody forgot about him because he only played 14 games that year before he was out for the season. So
yeah,
Duncan Robinson's been effective too, and if Ben's right about the 6th man with Trey Burke, then he's got to be maybe in the conversation. But
Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway Jr. on the same team.
Oh, Tim Hardaway, yeah, I forgot about him too. Glenn Robinson declined fast, didn't he?
Yeah. If you made rosters with just all people from the same colleges, Michigan would have a really good roster. They wouldn't have much of a bigs presence. They would just have a lot of wing depth.
That's an interesting
Bigs have
topic.
flamed out a little bit.
But,
we put Mo Wagner, I guess, as the big, but
he's another one.
But yeah, you got Duncan Robinson, who might be the best 3-point shooter besides the Currys. Trey Burke, who produces. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been just solid his whole career. Glenn Robinson III actually still will pop his name into the news every now and then.
Jamal Crawford. You'd have Jamal Crawford on that team.
Yeah.
That team would get buckets. That team would score points. They might not be able to defend.
That's an interesting topic that maybe we should. Now I kind of want to do this as a topic at some point.
Yeah. I think you'd still have your one and done schools, your Kentucky's, Dukes, and you'd be like, oh, well, duh. But
yeah, but even Kentucky, I look at Kentucky and I'm like, okay, obviously AD monster,
but I feel like Duke's guys are always good and they never show up, like RJ Barrett and JJ Redick, and then you have
De'Aaron Fox is okay. I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Right, well, before we go down that,
let's do this.
Another episode that is a great topic, but Western Finals, who do you guys have playing the Lakers?
Nice.
Yeah, I have the Nuggets.
Denver's gonna get there. Probably a little bit of maybe not surprise, but I don't think they have any chance of beating the Lakers if that's the next question. But I think they're gonna get there.
You did talk about Michael Porter Jr. and so if he has a good season, and obviously we talked about how Jokic is one of the better players in the NBA. Jamal Murray could be a nice piece. So the Nuggets could have a pretty good season. I think they could definitely win. I think they'll win a playoff series, and then I think they get knocked. But I'm going to take the Clippers. I think it's going to be LA again.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Mavericks. Again,
there.
Real high on the Mavericks, and that might do me in. But
so we're all different, but I think that kind of just shows you the difference in the West is it's the Lakers, and then who the hell else?
Yeah.
Right. I think the most fun it's going to be for me this season is the middle of the West and the middle of the East, though. Those top spots are heavily contested in both conferences, but there's just so many good teams in that middle of the room. But yeah, at the tops of these, it's just really good too. So I'm assuming we all would have the Lakers beating whoever they're playing against. Does anybody not have that?
Yeah, I think they could get pushed similarly to how they kind of got pushed this past year. But barring any injury to either LeBron or AD, there's no way they can get beat.
Right. So who do you guys have as your championship matchup winner and finals MVP?
So matchup, I'm gonna go Lakers Heat actually. So I'm gonna go rematch.
All right.
Winner is Lakers. Finals MVP is
Montrezl Harrell.
Kyle Kuzma. No.
No.
Markieff Morris.
No, I'm gonna go AD. I think AD will do it.
All right.
I'm taking. I'm taking Lakers and over the Nets, and And I think this is where my take on LeBron having a half playing regular season where he's going to have the energy to play the playoffs when it matters. So I'm going to take LeBron as the finals MVP because I think that's where he's going to be the most clutch.
All right. I am going to go with the Nets Lakers, and I'm actually going to have the Nets winning.
Okay.
I
That was
just
nuts.
I just want to be different, and I hate LeBron. So, in all honesty, LeBron's probably going to win it. But it's hard to repeat. I mean, it is so hard to repeat in the league. It is hard to just do that again, especially after a weird year. I think, and this might be, I don't know, maybe I am wrong, but in a non-COVID year, I don't even know if the Lakers win last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, don't need to go into that controversy, but I think the Nets beat the Lakers. I think KD is just absolutely hungry. He may not win MVP, but he is going to destroy the playoffs when they get there. Like he is going to go freaking like scorched earth mode. And Kyrie Irving also is like, he's just going to put a buckets in, especially against the Lakers. Like if that is the matchup, like I think DeAndre Jordan can be serviceable defensively against AD. He's just big and he can stand in front of him. Like who keeps Kyrie from having 40 points and who keeps Kevin Durant from having 40 points? Like LeBron can be a good defender if he wants to, but in those Warriors Cavs matchups against LeBron, KD still went off every time they matched up. So, and LeBron never really sought him out to guard him that much. So I would say the Heat would win that matchup, and then they have Karis LeVert to contend with. And if you're kind of calling it Kyrie Irving and KD versus LeBron and AD a wash, Karis LeVert versus Kyle Kuzma, who you picking? Karis LeVert.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would pick that. Otherwise, Lakers, I'd say AD would win Finals MVP because I don't want it to be LeBron, even though it would be LeBron because they can't give it to anybody that isn't LeBron. But yeah, so to wrap up our NBA talk, just quickly, it doesn't need to take a long time because I don't want to be sad. Where do you guys think the Pistons end up?
I think they end up 10th. No, I think they end up 11th in the East. I think they're going to be really intriguing to watch early on and then late. Early on because I want to see all the young guys play, and then they're going to be really bad, and then I'm probably going to stop watching them or want to stop watching them. And then late, I feel like they're going to hopefully be better and improved and really kind of figured out what they want to be. So I think they'll just be a better team and an easier team to watch. But I just think they're going to be pretty darn bad for most of this season. Even watching them in the preseason, I'm like this. I mean,
could be a long year. Good thing it's 72.
They're pretty darn bad. And it sucks to watch, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at in Detroit sports right now, fellas. So
yeah. So okay. So I was just gonna quick say I didn't really put them in a spot in like the East, but I was noticing a lot of the consensus final records based on like 4 previews was right around 19 and 53 on average. I'm going to give them 5 games more than that. I'll put them at 24-48. But I do think that that's still going to put them in the bottom 5 in the entire league.
Yeah.
Vegas odds have them at 23 wins over under. I think their breakout player is going to be the truth, Siku. But I think so. The GM, Troy Weaver, he was definitely aggressive, kind of like they promised. And I think Dwayne Casey is still a pretty good coach, obviously. Like he still went to the Pistons after winning Coach of the Year. But the thing is, the only way they have success is if Blake and D-Rose stay healthy all year. And I don't want them to still be here all year to stay healthy. Yep. I want them gone. So I think they could be better than what I say if they do decide to actually keep them, but I don't think that benefits them long term. And I don't think that Troy Weaver has shown any kind of pattern that he wants to keep, that he's going to keep what he doesn't need around. Mm-hmm. So I think Hayes will make a solid impact in his first season. And I think they'll be able to utilize like the specific individuals that they like the veteran talent that they got around them So at best, if Blake and D-Rose stay and they stay healthy all year, I think 500 is a possibility. But historically speaking, that doesn't happen. And so I think that I'm going to put them at 23 wins because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So my dream scenario is that in the first less than 20 games, they win like 10 to 15. And then because Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose just light it up, and then they get traded, and then they win 10 games the rest of the season. I would love that. Like, so I actually think they're going to start off pretty well. Better, not good, but better than people may think. Just because, I mean, the last time Blake Griffin was healthy and played a full season, he was all NBA. So I can't imagine he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be all NBA, but I can't imagine he's going to be much worse than all-star level.
Yes.
So I think he's going to show out. If he's there all season, he could will them to a playoff spot to get bounced by the 1 seed. I don't think that'll happen. I just don't think the team around him is as good as it was a couple years ago. But I really hope they start out hot. Trade Derrick Rose for sure. Hopefully get someone to take that contract from Blake Griffin, and then they just suck the rest of the year and end up with a top 5 pick. So I think they're going to end up. I think I only have them ahead of the Cavaliers and the Knicks in the East. I have them like kind of Hornets Magic level because I don't like the Magic.
Do you guys take the over under on that 23 Vegas odds?
Those are like it's Vegas. That's a very good number.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I take the over because I think they start hot enough, but
yeah, I'd say under.
I'm taking the under. I just think I don't think, I don't know. They're just not very good.
And just, you don't need to be good. Just develop the young guys, man. Give Sekou 30 minutes, dude.
I think that just kind of what Joel alluded to, but I think that seems to be the plan. Obviously, you can't not play Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin early in the year, but I just think eventually you just got to be like, look, we got to get rid of these guys, or just not. We got to get rid of Derrick Rose. Without Derrick, even just removing Derrick Rose from the equation makes that team infinitely worse this year.
Yeah. I just want every first-round pick from the last 2 drafts, who's ever on the roster, needs to play every single night.
Yep.
Like,
give sitting guys
every night. Even if it's garbage time, even if it's like just to give Blake Griffin a poop break, just give them minutes every single night, please. Just get him on the floor.
Yep. Yeah. I'm with you there. I mean, just get them on the floor, play them. And if they suck, if they're garbage, then you know what I mean? Like if they're really no good and you have no, there's no future there, then you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff, guys, for that NBA preview. Let's